A History of Southern Missouri and Northern Arkansas by William Monks, published in 1907. A Narrow Escape for Colonel Monks and In Camp at Yellville. Number 18. The author again appealed to the captain for protection from the mob. The captain then remarked to Sapp, "Hold on for a moment. I will take a vote of my company as to whether we will hang him or not." The company at that time was lying on the ground, most of them apparently asleep. The captain called out aloud to his company, "Gentlemen, I am going now to take a vote of my company as to whether we will hang Monks or not. All in favor of it vote aye, all opposed no." He then took the affirmative vote and the negative vote. They appeared to the author to be almost evenly divided. Sapp again remarked to the captain, "You promised him to us. We have bought him and paid for him, and he is ours." The author again appealed to the captain for protection. The captain replied to Sapp, "He claims protection, and as I am an officer and he a prisoner, I reckon we had better keep him until we reach McCullough and Price, and then we will try him for a spy, and there is plenty of evidence against him to prove that he has been writing to the lop-eared Dutch, and after he is convicted, we'll turn him over and you men can take charge of him." At this juncture, a brother-in-law of the captain said, "Captain, I have one request to make of you. I want you to take Monks in the morning and tie him hard and fast with his face to a tree, and let me shoot with the rest 60 yards and show you how I can spoil a black Republican's pate." The captain replied, "As soon as he is convicted, you can have the gratification of shooting him just as often as you please." The captain and Morrison again took charge of the author, carried him back, and delivered him to the guard with instructions to the guard to be diligent in keeping him closely confined so that he would have no possible chance of escape. On the morning of the 10th, we broke camp and went into camp that night just beyond where Mountain Home now stands. Dr. Emmons of West Plains, who was a strong Union man and who afterwards became captain in the 6th Missouri Cavalry, attempted to go through to the Federal forces, but was pursued by the rebels, captured somewhere in Texas County, and brought back to the camp. He was also a prisoner at the same time, but being a master mason was paroled to the limits of the camp, and on the night of the 10th made his escape and got through to the Federal lines, enlisted, and was made captain. Of him we will speak later. In Camp at Yellville. On July 11th, they broke camp and reached Yellville, Marion County, and on the 13th reached Carrollton, a small town in Arkansas, and went into camp. The author well remembers the spring. It ran out of the steep, rocky gulch, and the branch ran a little south of west, and a beautiful grove of timber surrounded the spring. The prisoners were marched down within a few feet of the spring and there placed under guard. As usual, the abuse that had been continually heaped upon the prisoners during the march was renewed, and in a short time a man who was said to be from one of the counties north of Rolla, Missouri, commenced making a speech and inciting and encouraging the soldiers to mob the prisoners at once, that he had disguised himself and entered the camps of the lop-eared Dutch at Rolla, and that to his own personal knowledge they had men's wives and daughters inside of their camps, committing all manner of offenses possible, and that they were heathens, didn't resemble American people at all, and that he would not guard nor feed any man who was a friend to them, that they ought to be killed outright. The men who enlisted in the Confederate Army from Howell and adjoining counties, before starting, went to the blacksmith shops and had them large butcher knives made a belt and scabbard, and buckled them around them, and said that they were going to scalp lop-eared Dutch. In a short time, the tenor of the above-mentioned speech had incited over 400 men, and it had become necessary to double the guard. The grove of timber was filled with men and boys looking over, expecting to see the prisoners mobbed every minute. There was a man who drew his pistol, others drew knives, and made different attempts to break lines and mob the prisoners. The man in possession of the pistol declared that he intended to shoot them. He was on an elevated place, and they called him Red, and there were 3 or 4 men holding him to prevent his firing. The author remarked to him that the time will soon come when you will meet men who are not disarmed. You had better save your bravery until you meet them, and my opinion is that you won't need any man to hold you down. Just about this time, on the north side of the spring, the land dropped toward the spring on a descent of about 45 degrees. The author heard the voice of a man ordering the guard to open the lines and let these ladies come in. The author at once arose to his feet and spoke out in an audible voice to the guard to give away and let the ladies come in and see a northern monkey exhibited. That the monkeys grew a great deal larger in the north than they did in the south. At this juncture, it appeared to take one more man to hold Red, who said that he would kill the saucy scoundrel if it took him a week to do it. When the posse came in, we saw that the ladies were accompanied by 8 or 10 Confederate officers with about 15 ladies. All the ladies carried small Confederate flags, the first ones that the author had ever seen. On coming very close to the prisoners, they halted, and one of the officers remarked, "These are the Union men that are friends to the lop-eared Dutch. Couldn't you tie the knot upon them to hang them?" I think almost everyone spoke out and said, "We could." After heaping other epithets and abuse upon the prisoners, they and the officers retired outside of the line. The speaker was still talking, urging, and insisting that the prisoners should be mobbed at once, that they should not be permitted to live. At about this stage of the proceedings, a man's voice was heard on top of the bank saying, "Men, I believe your intentions are to kill these prisoners. You have all started out to fight, and you don't know how soon you might be taken prisoner, and you would not like to be treated in any such manner. I know Billy," referring to the author, "and all you have against him is the political side that he has taken, and I order the orderly sergeant to double the guard around the prisoners, so there will be no possible chance for the mob to get through, and move with the prisoners south to a large hewed log house and place the prisoners therein, and place a guard around the walls, and suffer no man to approach the house without an order from the officers." As the prisoner began to move, the excited soldiers, who were wanting to mob them, brought out an Indian yell, and it appeared to the author he could almost feel the ground shake. After they were put into the houses, among the prisoners were some who were deserters. The author whispered to the Union men and told them to lie down close to them so that they could not distinguish from the outside one from another. The author was informed by Major William Kelly of the Confederate Army, who resides at Rolla, Phelps County, Missouri, at the present time, that he was the officer who made the order to remove the prisoners into the house and place a heavy guard around them to prevent their being mobbed. This ended the excitement for the evening. The author had always been a believer in the realities of religion. About 1/10 of the officers appeared to be Baptist and Methodist preachers, and frequently, when they would go into camp, would call a large number of the men together, and very often take the prisoners and place them nearby under a heavy guard, and then convene religious services. They always took for a text some subject in the Bible, and the author remembers well of the taking of the subjects in the book of Joshua, where Joshua was commanded to pass around the fortifications of the enemy and blow the ram's horn, and the fortifications fell, and the God of Joshua was the same God that existed today, and there was no question but their God was on the side of the South, and all they had to do was to have faith and move on, attack the lop-eared Dutch, and God was sure to deliver them into their hands. The author could not help but add in his own mind that when the attack is made, that God set the earth to shaking, and all around where the lop-eared Dutch are standing, that the earth will open and swallow them up, just leave their heads above the surface, so that those Confederates who were so furious could take their big knives and scalp the Dutch as they had said on diverse occasions they intended to do. Next makes his escape.